Imagine waking up trapped in complete darkness, sealed inside a freezing metal box barely wider than your shoulders, with your hands bound behind your back. You can hear heavy footsteps fading into the distance, and the chilling realization hits. The man who just executed your boyfriend in cold blood has left you in a suffocating metal coffin. This isn't a psychological horror movie. This was the real-life nightmare of 18-year-old Brook. A night that began as a simple road trip quickly turned into one of the most terrifying, horrific survival stories in American criminal history. It was the summer of 1996 when Brook and her boyfriend, Jeffrey, decided to hit the road. To anyone watching, they looked like a normal young couple heading out for a summer getaway. But behind the scenes, Jeffrey was involved in a dangerous underground trade. He was heading south to collect a massive $20,000 debt from a business associate named Gary. Gary was a mysterious, solitary figure who ran a remote butcher shop out in the swamplands. Brook hesitated, sensing a lingering gut feeling that something wasn't right. But she trusted Jeffrey and decided to tag along. By the time they pulled into Gary's driveway, twilight had fallen. The house was pitch black, shrouded in heavy silence with only a single dim light flickering in the kitchen window. The surrounding woods seemed eerie and dead. When Gary opened the door, his eyes were cold and unblinking, his demeanor utterly detached. He quietly invited them inside, offering them drinks before leading Jeffrey upstairs to talk business. Brook sat downstairs alone in the dark, the unnatural silence filling her with an overwhelming feeling of dread. Minutes later, an unannounced guest walked in, a man named Timothy, a known associate in their underground network. Brook assumed they were just having a casual meeting, but suddenly, the silence was shattered. A deafening hail of gunshots echoed from the stairwell, followed by a violent thud. Brook bolted out of her chair in sheer panic, only to see Jeffrey collapsed on the hardwood floor in a pool of blood. Standing right over his lifeless body was Timothy, clutching a smoking firearm, his face devoid of any emotion. Before Brook could even scream or run, heavy hands slammed onto her mouth from behind. It was Gary. He dragged her violently across the floor into a dark storage room. She fought with every ounce of strength she had, kicking and scratching, but Gary's grip was unyielding. He tightly bound her wrists with thick rope, jammed a rag into her mouth to muffle her cries, and shoved her inside a heavy steel container. He slammed the lid shut, locking her into suffocating, utter darkness. Inside the metal box, the air quickly became hot, thin, and stale. Brook was forced to contort her body into an uncomfortable fetal position. Her knees pressed hard against her chest. The suffocating heat made it nearly impossible to breathe, and terror clawed at her mind. Hours bled together in total isolation. Every sound outside sent a shockwave of terror through her body. Was Gary coming back to finish the job? With no fresh air and her energy rapidly draining, her vision slowly faded and she drifted into unconsciousness. Hours later, the loud clanking of the metal latch violently snapped her back to reality. The lid swung open, revealing Gary's ominous silhouette under the dim light. Without saying a word, he dragged her weakened body out of the container. Brook was too terrified and exhausted to resist as he subjected her to an appalling act of assault. Afterwards, Gary coldly shoved her back inside the steel box and padlocked it shut once more, leaving her alone in the damp darkness to suffer. When dawn arrived, the house became deathly quiet. Sensing that Gary had finally left, Brook realized this was her one and only chance to survive. Driven by pure adrenaline, she repeatedly scraped the tight ropes against the sharp inner edges of the metal box, ignoring the excruciating pain as her skin ripped open. Miraculously, the rope snapped. Taking a deep breath, she threw her entire body weight against the heavy steel lid, kicking and slamming her back against it until the lock gave way with a loud crack. Instinctively, Brook ran to the kitchen, grabbed a heavy meat cleaver for protection, and sprinted out the door into the morning light. She hid in the bushes as she spotted Gary briefly returning, waiting until his car sped off before rushing to a neighbor's house. Terrified by the sight of a bloodied, bruised young woman holding a meat cleaver at dawn, the neighbor immediately called 911. When deputies arrived, Brook was hyperventilating, crying out that her boyfriend had been shot and that she had been held captive inside a steel coffin. When investigators swarmed Gary's property, what they uncovered shocked even veteran detectives. They found the breached metal container, just as Brook described. But as they expanded their search toward the swamp behind the house, they found a blood-stained axe, Diving teams searched the murky waters and recovered 80 dismembered remains. Gary had attempted to feed Jeffrey's body to the local wildlife to erase all evidence of the crime. Timothy was apprehended shortly after and sentenced to life in prison. Gary turned himself in 2 days later as the nationwide manhunt intensified. Investigation revealed a sinister diary written by Gary years prior, detailing sick fantasies of trapping victims in steel boxes. Fantasies he tragically brought to life. Gary was sentenced to death and executed in 2012. Brook's incredible will to survive ultimately brought an end to one of the dark web's precursor horrors, proving that even in the deepest darkness, the human spirit can break free.